Alright, so I want to show you guys what camera settings have worked well for me by setting up my Runcam Swift or HS177 or whatever you have. They all basically have the same settings. When I use these settings, it works well in my goggles. I can just use the contrast brightness on my Fat Sharks for different conditions. Just tweak it a little bit. This seems to be the all-around best settings that I have found. So cam title, you can put that on if you want. Exposure auto. Brightness. I turned the brightness down to about 30. I think default comes at 50. Because what happens is if you have your brightness too high, see that light in the corner of the screen? It starts to blow out. So when you turn your quad into the sun or into some lights at night, it blows the whole thing out and you can't see very well. Now 50, the default at 50 isn't too bad. You can see the light starting to go away, but it still has that glow around it, that haze around it. So when I drop it down to about 30, anywhere between 20 and 30, but 30 seems to be about the best, so that I still have enough brightness to see, you know, at night and stuff, but you can see that haze pretty much goes away. And what I like to do is, see how I have the light set up here in the corner of my screen? And then I have my camera facing my bench here that has all kinds of diverse colors in it so that we can see what's going on really good. The AGC in middle. Of course, the dynamic range on. I'll leave this here for a second so you guys can see that. Shutter on auto. Backlight off. White balance, I use manual. And what I do on white balance is I set the blue to 45 and the red to 55. And that gives it kind of a nice, warm, soft glow, especially outside in the sunlight. It just seems to work really well. It keeps the colors nice and vibrant. You guys can set it however you want, but that's what I like right there. As you can see, you know, all the colors show up very, very well. Day and night, set your day and night to color. If you set it to black and white, and you're flying in low light conditions, it'll switch in and out, and that's no good. Set it to color and just leave it on color, and it'll work fine. Image adjust. Lens shade off. Keep this 2 DNR off. If you turn this on, I really see no difference with it on or off, but the problem is it'll add a lot of latency in your camera, so keep that off. Obviously we don't want to see a mirror effect. Font color, you know, you can change that, do whatever you want. That's basic. Contrast. Now here I run the contrast at 100 because I can change the contrast on the screen in my Fat Shark goggles with the toggle switch on the Fat Sharks. So I run this again. If you run this contrast too high, you see how the light's starting to blow out the screen. And if you run it too low, then you can't see the details. So I found that right around 100 works best. And once I set my cameras up like this, I only do my fine-tuning for different conditions in the Fat Shark goggles themselves. Now a lot of guys crank this sharpness all the way up. I find that this kind of blows out and pixelates the screen a little bit more, kind of makes it a little more grainy. So I found somewhere between 20 and 25 works best. I like it at about 25. Obviously we want LCD display and we don't want a negative image. of course. DPC, that's just to depixelate if you have something wrong with your camera. No need to mess with that. Language, hopefully you're speaking English and you can hear me talking in English right now. But that's it. That's all I do to set up the camera. After that, I do any little tweaking I need to do for different conditions. Like I said, in my Fat Sharks themselves. So, exposure auto, brightness between 20 and 30, AGR middle, dynamic range on, backlight off, white balance manual, blue at 45, red at 55, day and night, leave it on color so that you don't get the second of switchovers in there. Image adjust, DNR off, lens shade off, mirror off, font color whatever you want, contrast around 100, sharpness around 25, display LCD, and that's it. That's all I do. And as you can see, with all the different colors I have up here on my bench, and the light up there, the camera almost facing directly at that light, it's not blowing out the screen. You can still see the shelf and everything behind there, and even my little clothespins that I have up here and stuff. So there it is. That's my camera settings that work really well for me, and I can do the final adjustments in my Fat Sharks themselves. Hope this helps somebody out.